Will Black people ever be able to be self-sufficient or independent? This question is obviously racist, but I will answer it as if it was asked in good faith. First of all, before emancipation, Black people created the necessary infrastructure for their independence and self-sufficiency. In the year 1738, the first free Black town was established in Mosey, Florida, which means that there was a free Black town before there was a United States of America. The first Black-owned media company, a newspaper, was established in 1827. All of this was before emancipation. Black towns and neighborhoods saved and circulated millions of dollars within their communities, like the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma, North Nashville in Tennessee, Sweet Auburn in Atlanta, and countless others. There is a list way too long to fit into this video. And do you know what happened to those thriving, independent, self-sufficient communities? They were attacked by white folks. They were bombed. They were raided. They were terrorized. They were demolished. These independent, self-sufficient Black communities were fine and had existed for a very long time. The real question is, will whiteness ever be able to be self-sufficient and independent without Black oppression?
First and foremost, giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to the Icon pushing his truth, sincerity, and charity. I'm the brother Elad. Respond to this video that came up on the feed. All right. And we just go ahead and roll with the precepts. I got some lined up. In response to that Red Summer, if you don't know what the Red Summer is, look it up. Red Summer. And they covered fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. So these so-called self-proclaimed white men, which is Esau, Edom, according to the Bible, has all kinds of lies, right? Let me get that scripture. He slanders Jake, right? But he tries to make it seem as though that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are the true children of Israel, have had no effect in this country whatsoever, as if this country could purely exist without the oppression of Jake, as if it could purely exist without the inventions that Judah and Israel have brought to this place. All right, so Psalms 50:20, thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son. All right, they have this inward hatred that can't go away because it's in their spirit, right? They have a hatred toward Jake. They have a perpetual, as the scripture calls it, perpetual hatred. And it's certain things I didn't learn about in high school curriculum. And this is why they have the critical race history being removed from libraries, school libraries, and school books. I maybe have heard of the Red Summer once in U.S. history, and it was probably, I'm talking about in high school class, it was probably a very brief period. You know, I never heard of Tulsa, Oklahoma, or the Black Belt, or all these different places that were burned down in the Red Summer, and just how thriving and lucrative they were. But Esau, let him tell it, you were always poor, you were always slaves, and you were always uncivilized until he came and quote-unquote civilized you, which is also a lie. Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Who's covering the faces of the judges? Who's sitting at the seat of power, right? He's doing that while also he painted the images of the judges and the saints to look like him, as the scripture talks about. The heathen sought to make the likeness of the saints unto themselves. right? I'll just get it real quick. It's in the Apocrypha. First Maccabees 3:48, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen sought to paint their likeness of their images. So Esau Edom has called Jake a no people, as if you just nobody, right? But they didn't conquer a no people. They didn't just enslave just anybody. When those slaves came from off those ships from the continent of West Africa, those were Israelites, and they weren't slaves. They were architects, philosophers, scholars, mathematicians, cartographers. These were tradesmen. They knew how to do things. And that's what it took to build up this nation, this country, this prideful kingdom, yeah. Right? So Sirach 10:7, pride is hateful before Yahweh and man, and by both doth one commit iniquity. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches gotten by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another, right? As they call it, his story in history. So just because the person won the war, he gets basically the ability to lie and say that certain things didn't happen when it did, and things that did happen didn't happen. He has the ability to turn bitter for sweet, sweet for bitter, and manipulate the story, because he's the last one standing, right? It says, "Why is earth and ashes proud? There's not a more wicked thing than a covetous man, for such one setteth his own soul to sell, because while he liveth, he casts away his bowels." But yeah, why is earth and ashes proud? Right? And Jake had to be spoiled, man. They had to be robbed, because Isaiah 42:22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey and none deliver it, for a spoil and none say it restore. It had to be this way, because if the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are the true children of Israel, were thriving in the states, United States of America, in Esau Edom's kingdom, it wouldn't even be biblical like that. It wouldn't. It would. Now, granted, you have some Jakes, Jay-Z and you know, Kanye, and it's always gonna be that way. Even Daniel and the three holy children, they was the presidents in Persia. You know, you had your Moses in Egypt, but those are your standout Jakes as far as being more well off in their captivity, because this is still captivity of your people. But granted, you had to have your success destroyed before your eyes. It was a part of the curses that the seeds that you plant, your crops wouldn't grow. The locusts will come eat it, right? The flies will come eat it, meaning that the things you do for success won't pass. They won't succeed, because the Lord is not with you. Because this place is our punishment. The word America, it really goes into bitter. And that's why Jake is in poverty, because they are robbed. These luxurious towns and cities that Jake built up, and the Northern Kingdom too, the you know, so-called Native Americans, right? The so-called Latinos that built up this place. Hey, you've been robbed. And that's why that's the number one population in the prisons is Jake. And I say this as a man, I believe that the number one factor behind all crime is poverty. The number one factor. Of course, there's other factors, but the main factor is poverty. You know, people got to do what they got to do to eat. They hungry. And then Esau, Edom, what he do? Slander his brother. So he put gun stores and guns in your neighborhood. He put drugs in your neighborhood. And then he point the finger and say, look at these animals. They're killing each other. Look, knowing that he had a hand involved in it. But all of this was done for edification's sake, because the scripture says the things written before time, written for our learning, and the things are still being written. We are not meant to thrive here because we don't belong here. This is our captivity. It's not our rest. As a nation, we are suffering, even though some of the people of our nation are trying to make this place home. The scripture says that they that are of Israel, not all Israel. But Lord willing, this was edifying. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Shalom.